When I tell you that 2020 was a rough year, I wasn't joking. Besides the obvious things about a certain bug that I can't say because I'll get demonetized, but a certain bug that made things really bad for a lot of people. And not only did that affect many individuals and many families across America, but also many college programs, some of which had to close its doors during the pandemic. And so Mark Emmert, who was already one of the most hated people in all of America, he's forced out, and the new regime in charge of the NCAA decided to take drastic action in order to save college sports, forcing teams to now be grouped in conferences not based on traditional lines or any sense of the imagination, but based on geography to save time on travel and to create geological rivalries. Welcome to the NCAA 14 Realignment Dynasty featuring college football revamp. Let's get it. What's going on, everybody? This is John Jank Gaming on the mic here, coming at you with a brand new series. Yes, sir. We are here on episode 1 of the Realignment Dynasty, featuring the one and only college football revamp, credited with bringing life back to NCAA 14, man. So I hope you guys are excited for it. If you are, make sure you go ahead, smash that like button, hit subscribe if you do happen to be brand new, as we will jump right into it, starting with some huge changes in how this series is going to work, right? So, got some big things happening for you guys. First and foremost, for all of these conferences, BCS at-large bids, automatic bids for winning a conference championship, those are gone. So now all of the New Year's Six Bowl, those slots are now going to be determined just by who the best team on the field is. You know, only the best teams will be in that New Year's Six Bowl to get things started. But how are the conferences going to be set up? Well, one thing that is going to be common with every conference is that, you know, it might be some slight changes, but one theme here is that rivals are going to be protected. There's always going to be night games in November, and the team that has the best conference record is going to be hosting the conference championship, with the exception of one conference. And we're going to be going ahead. We're going to hop through each individual conference just to see, you know, how each league is going to be stacked up. I hope you guys are ready for it. So we start things off here with what is now going to be called the Deep South Conference. They are going to be mimicking the ACC, and we got two different divisions. And let me just say right off the top, this might be the best division, the best conference in all of college football in the newer realignment. Got 5 teams in the top 25, Florida State, UCF, and Southern Florida, as well as the Florida Gators and the Georgia Bulldogs here in this Deep South Conference, but also some solid programs as well, like Florida International, FAU, Miami. Also have Georgia Southern, Georgia State, and Georgia Tech. And then rounding out the group is UAB. Then moving on to the Great Mid-Eastern Conference, they will be replacing the American Conference. These are going to mainly be your Ohio and Michigan teams, with Purdue and Indiana as well as Ball State going to be thrown in there as well. But that being said, though, interesting story here. Remember how we ended the last NCAA series, Ohio State and Miami of Ohio, of course. These two teams met in the national championship, and not only are they going to be in the same conference, they're going to be in the same division. So that's going to be a really interesting rematch that we're going to see off rip. We will also have the Michigan Wolverines in here as well, another top 25 squad. And then other teams in this conference, we also have Akron, Kent State, Michigan State, Toledo, and Purdue, along with the Ohio Bobcats, Indiana, Ball State, and Cincinnati out here repping the South as well. Now, the Big 12 is going to be the new Great Midwest Conference, and one thing that I do want to note is that on the graphic it does have North Dakota State. However, because I plan on using the playoff utility tool, yes, it is going to be the first time that we use that tool in any NCAA 14 series that we're going to run on the channel. I'm not going to have any team builders in here, man. So that's why North Dakota State is not showing up. Bowling Green is going to be coming through here. They were originally independent. They're going to be replacing North Dakota State. Other teams in this conference, got Nebraska, Wisconsin, and Iowa as the ranked top 25 teams from the previous season that are going to be in here, along with Kansas, Missouri, Kansas State, Western Michigan, Minnesota, Central Michigan, and then of course the Eastern Michigan Eagles rounding out the group for the Great Midwest. Side note, don't know whether I'm going to do a 4-team or 8-team playoff yet. You can let me know what you want to see down in the comment section, because that's to be determined. Now, the Big Ten is now going to be known as the Mid-American Conference, and a solid conference. Notre Dame's in there. They're a little bit of a disappointment, but maybe they'll do a little bit better now that they're in an actual conference instead of an independence team. Two teams that are ranked in the top 25, at least from the last season of the Coach Dynasty, got Kentucky and Tennessee, repping the South. Also in the division, of course, is Louisville, Mid-Tennessee State, Vanderbilt, and Western Kentucky. Then on the north side, we got the Illinois Fighting Illini, the Marshall Thundering Herd, West Virginia, Northwestern, and of course Northern Illinois, rounding out the group for the Mid-American Conference. For Conference USA, they will be known as the Mid-Atlantic Conference. These 12 teams will represent essentially teams from the Carolinas, as well as a couple of squads from Virginia, and I believe might be the only conference that doesn't have any ranked top 25 teams off rip. So it might be the weakest conference from a top-heavy perspective. But in this conference, there's Appalachian State, Charlotte, Duke, Eastern Carolina, and then, of course, Virginia and Virginia Tech in the East. And then out in the West Division for the Mid-Atlantic Conference, we got Clemson, North Carolina State, North Carolina, Old Dominion, South Carolina, and Wake Forest, rounding out this conference. Now, the independents, I wanted to make sure that all the conferences had 12 teams just to keep things nice and even Steven. In the independents, there's going to be 8 independents. There's just awkward fits, or it would have too many teams in the conference, that kind of awkward stuff. So the independents are going to make up Coastal Carolina, San Jose State, South Alabama, Texas State, who won the Fiesta Bowl in the previous season in this universe, Louisiana Monroe, who's a top 25 team, and rounding out the group is Detroit Trojans, UTEP, and UTSA. Moving on to the MAC, which will now be known as the Rocky Mountain Conference. Again, another conference that does not have any ranked teams, something I'm kind of surprised about. Thought it would divvy out some of the top 25 teams a little bit, maybe not so much. But in this conference, you'll find Air Force, BYU, Boise State, Colorado, Colorado State, Wyoming. And then on the west side, we got Arizona and Arizona State, New Mexico and UNLV, Utah State, and then, of course, Utah, rounding out the Rocky Mountain Conference. As for the Mountain West, they will now be known as the Southwest Conference, and a couple of teams in here. Oklahoma, which is where the coach of this new series is be an alma mater from. Texas in here, Texas A&M, Texas, by the way, still not back. Fight me if you want in the comments section. Houston, Rice, and Tulsa round out the Southern Division of the Southwest Conference. And then in the north part of the Southwest Conference, we have Baylor, North Texas, SMU, Texas Tech, TCU, and Oklahoma State. For the Pac-12, they are, of course, going to remain known as the Pac-12, but with some adjustments. Some non-traditional Pac-12 teams now in this conference. 2 ranked teams in here, USC, who did make a national championship a couple of years ago in this universe, as well as Cal, who's traditionally pretty good, followed by Fresno State, Stanford, San Diego State, and UCLA on the east side. Over on the Western Division, we have Nevada, Hawaii, Oregon, Oregon State, the Washington State Cougars, and then of course the Washington Huskies. Now, the SEC is going to be known as the Yankee Conference, and they are going to be the only conference that is not going to have a conference championship game. UMass and UConn would be in this conference if they were in the game, but College Football Revamped has removed them from such an opportunity, so that's going to be tough. Plus, all the independent teams would be an awkward fit, but still some good talent in this conference. Boston College and the Navy Academy, those are really good programs. Maryland's a solid program as well as Army, Buffalo, Penn State, Pittsburgh, Rutgers, Syracuse, and Temple should be an interesting little conference. And finally, the last conference that I did want to go ahead and talk about is the Sun Belt Conference. They will still be known as the Sun Belt. Probably one of the toughest conferences in college football. Arkansas is there, ranked number 2, but so is Auburn, Louisiana Tech, Southern Miss, and I thought there was one more, but I misread that. Also, some good programs. Alabama, LSU is there, also Mississippi State. Wow, words are incredibly hard. Then on the west side, I already talked about Arkansas, but so will be Arkansas State, Louisiana, Memphis, Tulane, and Ole Miss. So guys, this is how our conferences are going to be structured in this new series. Now, as for the coach that we're going to be using in this series, we will be playing with Maurice Royal, not the player, but the coach. He will be starting off as an offensive coordinator, and if you guys remember, for those of you that have been following this channel for a little bit now, this was a guy that was a 99 overall quarterback at the University of Oklahoma. That is his alma mater. However, because he ended up having a heart condition, that did prevent him from pursuing his NFL dream. So he's using that opportunity to go into coaching now, and he will be coaching. He'll be getting his first coaching stint at the FBS college football level based off his national championship experience as a starting quarterback. But we will not be the only new coach in the FBS, as there are 2 other coaches that we will be competing up against. We will, and this is a special shout out to the channel members, by the way, who I gave the opportunity to make their own coach. Jack Gunner, he will be the head coach of Arkansas State, and then Justin Jones will also be the head coach of Hawaii. So we'll be going up against these 2, and a little bit of a head start because they will be head coaches while we're an offensive coordinator, so they'll be getting XP a little bit quicker than we will. Definitely going to be in the hole early. Speaking of how coaching upgrades are going to work, regardless of whether we're a head coach or an offensive coordinator, skill points will be assigned randomly. So I'm going to use a random number generator for each time that we do get a coaching upgrade. We will not have any input over it, regardless of whether we're a head coach or an offensive coordinator. It's just so that not everything gets put, or the vast majority of points gets put into recruiting when we become a head coach. You know, it will make it a little bit more difficult to build ourselves up from the ground up. And that does mean, speaking of which, you guys see what we got on screen, we will also be taking over as the Troy Trojans, at least for Maurice Royal's first coaching destination. But even though we are going to be starting off at a lower tier school, that doesn't mean we don't have talented players that could potentially make it to the NFL. Our 2 best players are 2 wide receivers that are actually custom players from the Coach Dynasty. I did carry them all over into this series. So if you had a player in the Coach Dynasty that did not graduate or go into the NFL or get cut, that happens too, they will be in this series as well. So, we'll be watching over them over the course of the series. But our 2 best players are Dejon McDaniels. He's a 91 overall. Almost had a 1,000-yard season last year, but not quite. And then Kendavius Richardson is also a senior wide receiver. So 2 senior wideouts to work with that could help our offense go here in year number 1. As for who's going to be playing quarterback this upcoming season, we do have Ryan Fisher going to be our starter. It's a good player, 83 overall. did throw a lot of interceptions in the last couple of seasons as the starter, so hopefully we can get that down. But he does have a decent amount of mobility, 70 speed, 77 acceleration, 66 agility. Awareness is good, but the arm is okay. I wish that his arm was a little bit better, but he's a mobile player that we can use. At halfback, we have two pretty good halfbacks in Travis Seltzer, who's going to be really the thunder guy, and then Steve Jordan will come in. He's going to be more of that, kind of boom or bust. He's going to bring in big plays for us, but not necessarily a guy that can break tackles as consistently. Travis Seltzer is going to be the running back, going to be the main feature in the backfield. That's going to go ahead and wear the defense down over the course of the game. At tight end, we'll have Brandon McNamara starting, another senior red shirt who is an 82 overall. Very good speed for a tight end. 80 speed that this guy has, and amazing catching. 94 catching. The reason that his overall is not that high is that his blocking could be just a little bit better, but this is a guy that's a pretty good receiver. We'll see how much impact that he has as a blocker. Hopefully he can live up better than what his statistics say, but as a receiver though, I'm very excited to have him. Now, offensive line could be a potential issue for us this upcoming season, as we'll have guys like Sean Williams starting for us, who's a little bit shaky. Alex Martin will be solid though. He's an 83 overall, a junior from Gadsden, Alabama. Along with Michael Sears, who's a senior. He's from Albany, Georgia. Jacob Brown, who's an 86. And then on the right tackle is Brian Ford. So the interior of our offensive line should be okay for this upcoming season, at least for our first year. But as for tackle, we definitely need to work on that. Now, since we are going to be the offensive coordinator here for this first season of the Realignment Dynasty, the only thing I'm going to worry about, even for red shirts, is going to be offensive guys. So, that being said, I am going to redshirt a couple of guys this upcoming season. I'm going to redshirt Pat Hanley so that, I can work with him for an extra year, since he will be slated as the starter anyways as of right now, unless we find an amazing quarterback talent in the near future. And then at halfback, I want to redshirt both running backs, but just in case both Seltzer and Steve Jordan gets hurt, I do like to have a third running back, and I'm going to lean towards Harold Ferguson getting more immediate playing time because his awareness is a little bit better. That being said, we will not have an influence on recruiting until we are a head coach. So, since Troy is an independent here in this Realignment Dynasty, what that does give us the liberty of doing is that we do have a little bit more freedom in setting up our schedule for this upcoming season, and we got a solid strength of schedule, going to come in at a B-, and we start with 3 home games in a row. We'll play Marshall very first thing, and then take on Michigan and Southern Miss. Then we'll follow that up with our first road test against a solid Raging Cajuns program, followed by 3 more home games. We'll have South Alabama, Boise State, and Eastern Michigan. But the Eastern Michigan game will be actually our final home game. After that, we have 5 road games in a row. We're going to take on Western Kentucky. Then after a bye week, we'll finish out with Stanford, Louisiana Tech, Buffalo, and then the preseason number 18 team in college football, the Iowa Hawkeyes. So guys, that's going to wrap things up here, and I hope you guys are really excited about the series. Next time out, we will have our very first game action, taking a look at how Maurice Royal handles the rigors of coaching at the college football level. If you're excited for this series, man, I encourage you to go ahead, smash that like button, and then of course, hit that subscribe button if you have to be brand new and love what you see in regards to this series. But with that, this is John J Gaming on the mic signing off. I'm hoping you're all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.